My last video I was talking about music that I discovered and was listening to basically from my earliest childhood memories up through about the 6th or 7th grade, maybe like halfway through the 7th grade. And I trailed off there at the end talking about AFI, and the album I had at that time, like I said, was Sing the Sorrow. And of course later I discovered their earlier material, which was a little bit more hardcore punk or whatever you want to call it. And the albums they came out with after Sing the Sorrow, they had a few good songs, but they never really quite hit the nail on the head like they did with Sing the Sorrow, because that was such an epic album. I mean, the dynamics of it are so emotional and dramatic, and something about their playing and Davey Havok's voice just creates like a dark fantasy, like mythical realm just in my mind. I really enjoyed that album. And at the same time that I was listening to that, the other CD that I had that I really loved was Elephant by the White Stripes. And so it was like this polarity where I would listen to Elephant for like a week or two back to back, and then I would listen to Sing the Sorrow for like a week or two back to back. And so I was like torn. I was like, man, do I like this gothic rock stuff, or do I like this blues rock stuff? Well, surprise, I like both of them. But that was also when the garage rock revival happened, and along with the White Stripes, you had the Hives, the Vines, the Strokes, Jet was sort of in that, the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, and a lot of those bands were putting out good albums. Vinny Vitty Vicious by the Hives, if you want to get amped up, that's an album that you should put on. Drink some coffee and listen to that album. You'll be feeling pretty hyped. The Vines, they had kind of a mix between the garage rock sound with a little bit of grunge and a little bit of like psychedelic influence on a few of their songs. And both of those bands, like I said, I'm going to say this about a lot of the bands I talk about. They put out more albums later that, may have had a few good songs, but they just weren't hitting on as much as they were with that particular classic album. And, the Strokes had Room on Fire, and that was probably, in my opinion, the most sophisticated of the, of the garage rock era bands. And the Strokes, probably more than any of those bands, went on to put out more better albums as time went on. The White Stripes obviously had a lot of really good albums. In my opinion, the Elephant was kind of where they peaked, and Get Behind Me Satan and Icky Thump kind of trailed off a little bit for me, but their first 3 albums were really great as well. The White Stripes, White Blood Cells, and The Steel. They were probably my favorite band for a while, the White Stripes. And it's through listening to that type of stuff that I kind of found a bridge back to classic rock, because those bands were inspired by the Stooges and the Velvet Underground, and the Rolling Stones. And so I kind of went back and was checking that stuff out. So I was back into classic rock, except this time around, instead of AC/DC and Aerosmith, and ZZ Top and stuff, I was more into like the Stones, the Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, the Doors, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, and stuff like that. And actually, you know, when you talk about Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, the Doors, and Jimi Hendrix, those are still in my like top 10 favorite bands of all time, some of them top 5. And I mean, that was the main stuff I listened to for a long time there, throughout, you know, the rest of high school and college and everything like that, along with other stuff I was discovering along the way. But kind of basically consider that the main foundation